Hey guys, I just handed in my last paper today and this semester has been brutal. Suffice it to say, I have been put through the ringer this semester and I have learned some really cool tips and tricks to how to win at school basically, so I thought I would share them with you. It all comes down to two things. Number one, condense it to the stuff that you need to know and start from there. Number two, when you have assignments, break it down into sections. It works a lot easier that way. So for tests, if you know the questions beforehand, think about what you want to talk about in terms of your answer before you get to the test, and then go through your readings and think of about 5 points that you want to cover and find those in your readings. If you have a textbook, definitely use the index for that. Indexes are godsends. And then just find maybe 10 words or so that you could quote or paraphrase. Like if you can quote during a test scenario and it's word for word, that is extra bonus point. You're really only going to need to talk about those 5 things, and if you already have a good basis of knowledge around them and have the gist of basically everything else and have listened in class, then that's all you really need, and you can just go from there. If you don't know your questions beforehand and therefore do have to do all the readings all the way through, here's my tip. Start at the introduction, and then you go through until you hit the thesis statement, and then you stop. That says what they're going to try to prove. So then you go to the conclusion and see if they proved it. And then if there's anything mentioned in there that you have to go back and in the middle and read, do that. Otherwise, what you have is their argument, and then what they proved with their argument, and you can move on. And while you're doing this, take notes. Just take a few notes for the introduction, few notes for the conclusion, and then, as I said, if there's anything interesting in the middle, take notes on that. If you have a lot of readings, like I had like maybe 9 or 10 at some point, it yields about maybe 1 to 3 pages of notes. And once you have those pages of notes, you go over them and go over them and go over them. Just hang on to them for dear life and keep looking at them until you get to the test, basically until the test is being handed out. And pick 1 or 2 favorites just in case there's a question that asks you to expand upon any of the readings. So now for writing essays, which in the past 10 days I have kind of become an expert at. This is what your English teacher or any other teacher who has ever taught you how to write an essay has said before. Pick a thesis statement, make it a strong one. It has to answer the question, so what? And then you stick to it and you refer back to it as much as possible. Because that is the framework for your entire argument. Think of your essay as like an argument that you are putting forth, and like someone else is debating with you, and you have to get every counterpoint. And you have to win that argument. And by sticking to your thesis, you hopefully will win. Now what I like to do is once I have my thesis statement, I put that at the top of the page, and then I put like introduction above it. And then I basically start an outline, so I say my point 1, point 2, point 3, or if I have 2 main points or 4 main points, I put those under, and then I have a placeholder for a conclusion. And then I just say what my subpoints are. And that's when I start my research. I will preface this by saying that this is the method that works for me. It may not work for you, but I found it really, really helpful. So once you have your outline, you start your research. Go through everything you picked out, all the articles, the books, everything. Look through indexes. If they're PDF files, use the Control-F function. Just look for key terms and see if there's anything that relates to your thesis. If you do your research with your thesis statement in mind, it makes it a lot easier. Don't look at research as something that will give you ideas, but look at it as something that will support an idea that you already have, because that's how you're going to use it in your essay. So once you've picked some quotations that you want to use in your essay, go back to the outline and copy-paste them or type them in right under the points that you think they would be most useful for. And often what I've noticed by just putting your quotations into the outline, you get 2 or 3 pages of your essay just done there. And if you comment on the quotations, like if you have any idea of what you want to say about them and why they support your argument as you're putting them into the outline, definitely do that. You'll get even more of your essay done while you're just researching it. If you have your thesis statement in mind and you have all your supporting evidence and you have what you want to say about each of the quotations around it, it's just a matter of linking them up. And it really doesn't take that long to finish the essay. Now, another tricky part about essay writing is formatting, and this gets so many people confused, myself included. There are 2 main kinds of formatting. There's MLA, which is the Modern Languages Association, and APA, which is the American Psychological Association. MLA is used for more like the artistic endeavors, so your English papers, your theater papers, anything related to that. And APA is more psychology, sociology, sometimes communication. Communication actually straddles both. And it's very important to stick to the style that your prof or your teacher has recommended because marks will definitely be tied to that. Whenever I write a paper, I keep a window on my browser of the OWL at Purdue open. They have all the guidelines for MLA and for APA, and I rarely have to go and Google something else. Unless you're citing like film or television or anything, you don't really need to go outside that website. Now, MLA and APA are quite different from each other, but there are some general guidelines that are pretty much universal. 12 point Times New Roman, double spaced. Can't stress this enough. And remember your page numbers. So your punctuation for your quotations at the end goes outside the brackets in the in-text citation. So you have your quotation that finishes right there, and then you have your parenthetical right there, and then you have your full stop or your comma. When you have a short quotation, you put it in quotation marks. And when you have a long quotation, you have it indented, no quotation marks, and the punctuation goes before the brackets. I know, it's so confusing. Remember to ask your prof about their title page recommendations. MLA doesn't require a title page, but sometimes professors will ask for it. And APA requires a title page with a special running head. And lastly, MLA has a works cited page, and APA has a references page. I myself have messed up on this on a couple occasions, so be really, really careful. So I think that's pretty much it. Let me know if you have any other questions. I hope this helped you, and I will see you on Saturday for Project for Awesome.